Couple teams who are in the driver's seat to get to the ACC championship game. Both lost over the weekend, and there is a scenario where the ACC could end up being a no-bid league. 0 bids in the college football playoff.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. The Locked On Network is now the #1 sports podcast network, and shout out to all the everydayers for helping us make that happen. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes, and Kenton and I are going to get very familiar with one another this week because we're going head-to-head. We're going to have a crossover episode that'll be on all of our shows, so we're looking forward to that. And today's episode of Locked On ACC is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today. We are joined here by the host of Locked On Seminoles and the Portal podcast, Brian Smith, who's going to help us break down the Mike Norvell situation. Florida State lost again at Clemson. We'll talk about Louisville and UVA, a couple of home favorites who were at or near the driver's seat for the ACC championship game, both losing at home to teams with sub-500 conference records, the story of the ACC. All right, and so, Kenton, there is this doomsday scenario, right? Because currently, the Duke Blue Devils, who lost to UConn over the weekend, it's a non-conference game. Now, Duke's non-conference resume is an absolute dumpster fire. But the Blue Devils only have one ACC loss. So Duke is still in the ACC championship picture. If the Blue Devils were to go on with 4 losses to win the ACC, they're currently unranked, of course, and they are ranked behind a couple of G5 or G6, I guess we call them now, teams that play in 2 separate conferences. JMU and USF are both currently ranked. Now, the ACC nor any Power 4 conference is not technically guaranteed a bid into the college football playoff. They give conference championships spots just for the top 5 conference champions. So it is theoretically possible that Duke could win the ACC and be ranked behind both James Madison and USF if they win their respective G6 conferences, and the ACC could be a 0-bid league. I don't think it would happen because I think if Duke were to win, I guess, their next 3 games, including an ACC championship game, I think that would bump their resume up over James Madison. But, Kenton, it is theoretically possible the ACC, if Duke wins the conference, gets nobody in.
You got Brian Smith so distraught over here. He had to step off the camera to hit his vape pen for a minute. I'm joking. I don't think Smith is that type of guy. But in all seriousness, this is a very – it should be a non-issue. For any other Power 5 conference, this would be a non-issue, right? Yeah. Even with a terrible non-conference, just beating the teams in your conference would be enough. And as much as I want to blame the outside factors and say, hey, this is the committee hating on the ACC as always, if that were to even be thought of as a possibility, objectively speaking, the ACC has not done its part.
No.
And it's not incumbent upon the big brands to be big brands, but I'm going to say something. When the Atlantic was running the ACC, we had order around this thing. You knew Clemson and Florida State. That was the ACC championship game right there. Whoever won that game every year, you knew they're going to go on to win. We tried to give the reins off to the Coastal. We said, you know what? Miami's been loyal. They've been good to us. Let's go ahead and give them 2. Let's give them a couple years where we're going to put them in the driver's seat. And they said, we are staunch Catholics. Jesus, take the wheel. We don't want nothing to do with the wheel. We don't want the driver's seat. We said, let's let the newcomers get a shot. SMU, get on in here. They said, wait a minute. Hold on. We just as bad as the Coastal. What you putting this on us for? This is – and of course, even when you get to the Atlantic, Louisville, it finally looks like it's their year. It did not tell everybody. They got one game a year coming where they forget how to play football, and it happened here. I am shocked and appalled by what I've seen from the ACC. And although the committee should not ever be in a position where one of the power conferences does not have a bid, the ACC has done everything it can to be that league. We've done it all. Every big brand has lost. Every conference leader has lost to a team that leaves you saying, huh? And here's the worst part. Even my school contributed, because if NC State doesn't lose to Virginia Tech, all of a sudden that Georgia Tech win looks great and you're ranked. But what happened? You lost to a team without a coach who got blew out by Old Dominion. So now, what can we say? Well, how can we defend you? The ACC has done everything it can to be a no-bid league, and it would deserve it, but I'm not going to say it should happen.
Georgia Tech is my guess. Who's going to end up winning the ACC championship game? Does anybody disagree with that?
No, I'll ride with him.
Nah, I'm going with you there.
The only concern I have, and although it is not an ACC game, what is the game that Georgia Tech plays the week before the ACC title game?
Georgia, yeah.
They're going to be really beat up after that game. Win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no friendly playing the dogs. Yeah. That's going to be physical.
Isn't that what we call clean old-fashioned hate?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that they're going to play in 9 overtimes this year, and then Georgia Tech is going to get beat by Duke in Charlotte the following week, and Duke is going to get us to 0 bids. That's the situation.
If that happened, everybody know that Donno's the one that said that. Just make sure we know that.
It would be the most ACC thing ever. Like for this conference to come out with 0 bids would be the most ACC thing of all time.
Hold on, Donno. If now the situation you just pitched sends the ACC from a 0 bid conference to a 2 bid conference. If Georgia Tech beats Georgia, you have to put them in at that point.
Oh, that's true.
There's no world in which you can leave them out.
Yeah, well, let's say not 9 overtimes, but they lose to Georgia, and then they lose to. That's my scenario.
Okay,
you're a negative guy, man.
Never mind.
I've been a Miami fan for 40 years. How could I not be a negative guy?
He said, Tua is my quarterback. Don't nobody deserve to smile around here.
Oh, my God. Yeah, don't even. Well, the Dolphins got a big win against the Bills, so there's that.
I get it. I'm just saying, I think that there's a lot going on with this conference right now. And honestly and truly, it hurts to say this because we're 3 football guys. But hey, at least we're looking great in basketball, right?
I mean,
women's basketball is good because this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing in terms of football. With all due respect to Jim Moore Jr. and Fagnano, Duke, what the hell are you doing? Manny Diaz, when did you forget how to coach defense? When did this happen, Manny? You're a defensive guy, and you can't stop. No, you can't stop a nosebleed. What is going on right now with the ACC? Every time we think we got this figured out, it's like the NDRE song. She said, the more I know, the less I understand. Everything I thought I figured out, I got to learn again. And this is how I feel every time I say, okay, there's a little bit of clarity in this ACC picture. No. Let's throw some mud in that water. Let's throw some muck in there. Let's throw some salt in there because you don't need to see.
So here's what happened on Saturday night, okay? And I'm watching. I had just wrapped up post-game coverage of Miami's win against Syracuse, and then I'm watching a couple of other games, right? I'm watching close games between number 14 at the time, Virginia, who didn't technically have a conference loss at that point because their loss to Kenton's Wolfpack was a non-conference game. So Virginia was 5-0 in the ACC, and they're just trying to close out against, Wake Forest, and Wake has snuck up on some teams this year. I give them credit, but they were sub 500 in ACC play at the time. Now, Virginia did catch a bad break because they're without Chandler Morris in the second half, head injury, concussion protocol, so that obviously affected them. But they go down 16-9 at home against Wake Forest. So naturally, Virginia, and Virginia, by the way, is still in good position to make the ACC championship game, but this just furthers the chaos. But then you had Louisville, number 15 in the country, at home, mind you. This was not a 10:30 p.m. game in Berkeley. This was at home against the enigmatic Cal Golden Bears, and JKS played a great game, of course. But number 15, Louisville, they can't beat Cal at home. They lose in overtime, 29-26. And now, Louisville's in a precarious position, suffering their second conference loss, and it throws our league into complete chaos.
Yeah, it's complete bedlam. I mean, I'm surprised that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State aren't playing as much bedlam as I'm seeing right now. This is complete and utter foolishness that I'm seeing from this conference. You know, the craziest part about all the teams you just named, I believe Virginia was the only one that wasn't a double-digit favorite. I think they're the only one that wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Duke. I'm
something.
pretty sure Duke was either a double-digit favorite or 8.5, something close to it
against UConn.
You had Louisville, that I know for a fact was a double-digit favorite against Cal. Sure. And I looked at that line and said, no. This is going to be Louisville's moment. This is going to be their moment to wet the bed. Hopefully they can survive it. And Miller Moss said, I have no interest in surviving such a thing. I'm good, actually. Yeah. This is, again, this conference, I'm not going to put it all on the big brands, because even when the big brands are bad, your smaller brands can rise up and take the reins.
Yeah, nobody wants it.
Who the hell? What? That's the problem, Donno. Who wants it? Duke, do you want it? You go out and spend on the quarterback. Hey, guys, you also have to pay for defensive linemen, maybe, perhaps, perchance. A linebacking core, perhaps, perchance, maybe. You know, they don't want to do it. Virginia, hey, buddy, I get it. Chandler Morris is very important in your operation. I understand. They're the only team that I'll give some grace to. But everybody else, Louisville, can you get one quarterback that you develop in-house? One guy that you keep for 2 to 3 years? Hell, get a 2-year rental. Just anything instead of this 1-year rental business. They can't do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to actually turn it over, because Brian Smith, who's also the host of The Portal and Locked On Seminoles, he's going to wear both of those hats on this episode. We'll talk about Mike Norvell a little bit later on, but Brian's got a question for Kenton and I about the ACC and the transfer portal. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode. Guys, the holiday season is here now, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait, because Wayfair's Black Friday deals are already happening. They happen all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. Guys, I couldn't believe how fast everything shipped, and it's going to be there just in time for the holidays, I promise. And if you browse through their site, it's easy to find pieces that actually fit your style. Nothing generic, just quality designs that feel personal. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy for you. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. The sale ends December 7th. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network #1 in all sports podcasts. And, you know, we all work very hard, but it's you guys, the everydayers, who make this possible. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, and we're joined by Brian Smith from Locked On Seminoles and Locked On the Portal. And, all right, so, Brian, I know you cover the transfer portal like it's your job, because it is. And, you know, the ACC, outside of a few teams, have not exactly been crushing it in the portal these last few years.
Yeah, that's why I have the following question for you two. We all know that Louisville, Florida State, and Miami go hard in the portal. That's not a news flash. But those are 3 teams that win, and they're expected to be better. No offense, but by the way, Louisville, I need to yell at you more about the Cal game. Kenton didn't do enough. I need to throw some stones at you two here in a minute. But outside of those 3, which ACC team really spent money that had a chance to make a run this year? Anyone? Go ahead, gentlemen.
A couple of quarterbacks. I mean, Mensa at Duke, but Kenton mentioned like they needed defensive linemen too.
Oh my gosh!
You know, I don't know how much he cost, but Chandler Morris at Virginia, that's a transfer who's had a lot of success this year. But yeah, I mean, Kenton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we usually, outside of, like Brian mentioned, Miami, Florida State, and Louisville, we're usually talking about guys leaving the conference, like Trevor Pena going to Penn State. Like, that's usually what we talk about.
And watch this. That was the point I was just about to make. Not only have we not spent as a conference, there are feeders and there are takers. Yeah. And by and large, the ACC has been feeders for the takers. I was watching college football final last night, and I saw them talking about, we need a Kevin Concepcion highlight. These are becoming a weekly thing. He did it in Raleigh. He did. This is not new hat for him. Nope. But that's what it is. When you're a feeder school, you build up these great players, and they get fed on to bigger schools, and the bigger schools do the taking. And it's unfortunate, but like you said, Brian, nobody's taking those big chops. I mean, I could maybe say Clemson with Will Help is probably the biggest chop I can think of outside of Mensa, but not much as a conference.
But isn't it frustrating though with Clemson? Because for Clemson, it's strictly a choice. Like they if they wanted to, they could be just as active as Miami, Florida State, or anybody in other power conferences in the transfer portal. Like they have the money, they have the resources, but they've got a coach who thinks it's 1995, and so he chooses not to do it. Now, I honestly think, and I've heard this from a couple folks who cover Clemson, that the suspicion is like Dabo's not on the hot seat, but that there is going to be a conversation had where he is going to be encouraged to evolve his approach to roster building.
He should. If he doesn't, they're going to be 8-4. Think about it. They got an NFL quarterback in some capacity this year that's a senior, and they stink. Yeah. Those two things should not happen at Clemson. That's a problem. So he needs to figure that out quickly.
And when you think about players from the portal last year, there were multiple players that running game couldn't use a Mekhi Hughes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Somebody.
And Mekhi Hughes is back in the portal. He's back in the portal. Go get him. Right. Go call him, Dabo. Hey, buddy. Hey, how you doing, man? I got a proposition for you. I know it ain't exactly Beaverton, Oregon, but in all seriousness, this is a situation where this conference as a whole needs to not only evolve, open up that pocketbook, okay? Yeah. Open it up, and not the colloquial pocketbook. Get your mind out the gutter for the people who know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that checkbook. Write those checks to these young men. As much as Nick Saban said, oh, I'm walking away because players only ask how much they get now. Well, that's unfortunate. Nobody cares, buddy. Sorry. You have the choice to walk away. All these coaches in the ACC do not. You know who doesn't have the choice to walk away? Mario Cristobal. You know who doesn't have the choice to walk away? Mike Norvell, even though he's probably going to be told to walk away, but that's neither here nor there. You're looking at all of these schools in the conference that you can't just walk away and say, oh, I'll wash my hands of it. I'm not going to use the portal. This has to be an essential part of roster planning going forward.
Yeah.
I wish that I could add to that and make a great declaration, but there's no shortcut here. No. These schools took the cheap way out. I'm calling them all out. NC State, Kenton School, everybody, they took the cheap way out. Carolina spent some money, but they're rebuilding. You can call that whatever you want. That's a nuance.
Yeah, Carolina brought in like 70 new players just because they were redoing their roster, but they didn't bring too many guys who were like, wow, I can't believe they landed him. It was just like, give us whoever's not already here, bring them.
Yeah, that was mud on a wall. This next portal season, I'll grade Carolina in a much more specific light. Well, I'm sure Kenton and I, because he has such an affinity for the Blue Feet, that we'll get into that later on. But for now, I'm just going to give a pass to Carolina. That's year one. But NC State, Wake Forest wants no part of NIL. They want no part of it from what I've heard. That's why their coach left too. That's another one of those.
That's right.
Virginia spent a little on the quarterback and a few things, and they've done a nice job. But if they want to truly take the next step, there's no shortcut. As Kenton said, zeros on that check. Need to be more as opposed to less.
I mean, SMU's gotten some guys. We forgot to bring them up. I mean, usually SMU is like, wait, who's third on the depth chart at Miami? Bring them here, and we'll elevate them.
Well,
and they beat them. They beat them head to head.
Whenever we say Miami spins in the portal, we're saying SMU too, because SMU is Miami West, Donno.
That's true. Yeah,
that's Miami in Texas.
I'm going to call it right now.
Yeah.
Preseason favorite next year in the ACC will be SMU. Kevin Jennings is back. They're going to go all in.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
they got deep pockets.
Yeah, they do.
Calling it now.
And you see, they read up their coach too. They say, your alma mater is hiring. Don't you worry about it, right? Don't you worry about them foolish. You don't even want to go back to Arkansas. Here you go. But that's what I mean. You see, opening up that checkbook, all of a sudden keeps one of the best coaches in the nation at a small private school in Dallas. That's
easy recruiting pickings, man.
Yeah,
that is as easy as it gets.
And that's what we mean when we say you've got to do this. You've got to spend. You've got to spend. And SMU has positioned themselves to be good for years now because Sark is potentially leaving for the NFL and all that type of stuff. And Elko's our only competition in that state that's like, really meaningful right now, but that's another story for another time. All we're saying is spend the damn money. What are you doing? What are you saving it for? And the worst part about it, when you talk about an NC State, the minute Will Wade got hired, we found $20 million for basketball overnight.
Yeah, just under the cushion,
overnight.
It was right there. Yeah.
We blinked it, boom. And I get it. In NC State's case, Dave Doran has been here. I was part of his first recruiting class, people. I haven't had hair in about 5 years. So I understand why people are like, oh, I'm not going to spend that. But at the end of the day, if you want a better product, you have to spend the money. You have to spend the money. It's not optional. It's not a maybe. Look at the best teams. Look at what they spend on that roster. And I guarantee you're going to sit up there and say, oh, well, us not being a 20-point dog against them may be an act of God.
Yeah, well, speaking of coaching situations, we got to get the latest on what's going on in Tallahassee, because Florida State suffers, yet another frustrating loss. And it wasn't just losing to Clemson, who's not been very good this year, but it's how they're losing. Does Mike Norvell, does he still give his team a pulse? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Guys, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, and we are joined by Brian Smith from Locked On Seminoles and from the Portal Podcast. All right, so Brian, the Florida State Seminoles, they fall to 4-5 now on the season, 1-5 in the ACC. I actually thought they were going to beat Clemson. I mean, Clemson hadn't won a home game against Power 4 opposition in 6 tries. I thought Florida State was going to keep that losing streak going. Clemson wins 24-10. Now, you've said it. I see the clip going around from Locked On Seminoles that Mike Norvell only still has a job right now because of the contract. But how long can that buyout keep him employed, Brian?
That is literally the daily topic on Locked On Seminoles. Nobody has any other interest as far as Florida State backers. I put up a poll on my X profile that is probably not making many in the administration at Florida State happy. Why are they keeping him? Most people think it's just money, and I'm also in that. So I just think it's the boosters. They have to own it. There is no shortcut here. It's going to suck the route they have to go. They're going to have to fire him. I don't think there is, quote unquote, the right hire. Like when Jimbo came and was the coach in waiting under Bobby Bowden, he had ties to all kinds of people in the South. And he'd coached under Saban. He'd been at Auburn and LSU. It was about as easy a fit as you could get. There isn't that guy this time. But there ain't going to be one next year either. They're going to have to kind of go outside the tree, which Bobby Bowden, ironically, he came from West Virginia back in the mid-'70s. Yeah. It's not exactly a Florida State haven. Sometimes it just works that way. They're going to have to do it. And if they don't, if you think it's bad now, I'm going to say this on this show too. If you think it's bad now, wait till the January 2nd through the 16th. That is the portal window this year. There's only one. How well you think they're going to do? Seeing the apathy on the field, the way they played against Clemson? Who wants to join that, Donno? I know you're an FSU hater as a Miami guy, but you can hate on them all you want right now. It's not hard. All you got to do is open your eyes.
If Mike Norvell is still the head coach between January 2nd and January 16th, I can't see, outside of, NIL, but then are the boosters still investing is the question. Like outside of big NIL splashes, I don't see who you're landing in the portal with Mike Norvell still as your coach.
Bingo. They're not. Go ahead and jump on the train here. This is easy pickings, brother.
They got Brian so depressed he was taking some shots of Hennessy before he came back on there. That's how.
I don't blame him.
The eggnog ain't even started rolling yet. He already drank. It's not even noon yet where he at. You see what you're doing to the people, Norvell. You're increasing alcohol consumption. No, but in all seriousness, what we're seeing for Florida State right now is such a dire situation. because the exact opposite of what I was talking about with Rhett Lashley is happening in the state of Florida right now. You are going to see a bunch of very high quality coaches in Florida in no time. You're not going to, Florida has already gotten rid of their guy. They're going to go out there and spend big money for somebody. You're looking at a situation with Miami where, say what you want about Cristobal's game management, he will consistently keep Miami at 8 to 10 wins a year. You can book
and I'm like every 2 days I'm doing shows about a new 4-star recruit that they're landing, so they're still rolling on the trail too.
And listen, say what you want, Cristobal will get you 10. Scott Frost is back in Florida, where he had his most success in his career, where he was a guy that had UCF rolling at a high clip that we've never seen them roll at before. This is a situation where Florida State not only has to get rid of Norvell, you have to land the right hire. Now, how they're going to do that with some of the financial constraints that they're under, building a new field, all the lawsuit and all that, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you, in college football, the money always seems to appear out of thin air. Somebody better do some abracadabra, simsalabim, because they need the money right now to get a new coach. It doesn't matter how much you have to spend to get rid of Norvell. The reality is the negative consequences that you'll incur from keeping him are just as immense, if not more. If not more.
That's the key.
When I saw NC State lose to Virginia Tech, there were people in the booster club that I remember Coach Doran said, go say thank you to that person for their support. Go say thank you. Saying, well, I'm not supporting this team till he's gone. And I'm like, oh, when those people get to talking like that, I know the folks at Florida State are talking like that. A team that's won a national championship very recently. A team that's won the ACC less than 5 years ago, or less than 3 years ago now that I think about it. A team that has done great things historically. And you're telling me that you've never been in front of Stanford in the ACC standings? And people are going to be okay with that? Based on what? Based on what exactly? Yeah, no, Norvell's got to go.
Kenton acts like he's a lifelong Florida State fan there. He's so enjoyed this. But, I mean, it's an NC State.
He enjoyed it more than me because I'm,
I mean, listen, I take no joy in getting these coaches fired, but it's not me getting them fired. It's your coaching doing it. It's the fact that you're doing these races and nobody's racing with you. It's the fact that you're losing to teams that you should never lose to at Florida State. Duke has never beaten Florida State until who was the coach? Mike
Norvell.
Duke has never done that. Florida State has never lost at home to some of the teams that they've lost to until who was the coach?
Wait till this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and call it. I'm going to end on this. They got one home game left, so it's senior night automatically.
Yeah.
And they're playing Virginia Tech. Kenton knows all too well. If you screw around with them, I had to throw that one at you. But, I mean, it's going to happen. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
Tech's going to win that game. The way Florida State played at Clemson, you could, they physically applied themselves, but you could tell the mental errors. They didn't apply themselves during the week with the mental focus, the chalkboard and all that. Drop passes, penalties, 15-yard penalties on, unsportsmanlike stuff on offense, in the red zone, fumbling. They should have had 20 points when they had 0.
Yeah, anytime you have multiple unsportsmanlike on your offense, you know something's off. Something is off there.
It's not the quit bus, but it's play to play on guys. It is bizarre. Even for Florida State under Norvell, this is bizarre. When the boos start at Doak Campbell, and that place, that got some of the most loyal fans in the country. When the boos start, that's when we get to have another conversation on Locked On ACC next week, because I don't think they'll fire him after that game. They'll wait till after the Florida game. I think he's going to get canned after UF. I don't know.
Right.
By the way, UF might be playing worse than Florida State if that's possible.
Oh, yeah. You talk about terrible. But at least they already fired their coach, so they've been able to kind of start their search, right? So at least they're already moving dominoes there. Oh, man. But I mean.
Does Florida State win another game?
I don't know. I think UF is their best
Virginia
shot.
Tech. They got NC State on the road on a Friday night. Kenton will be the only sober person in that stadium. And then they got Florida in the Swamp.
But let me advocate. As a Miami guy, I think Mike Norvell's doing a fantastic job.
Fantastic.
And let me remind the haters out there. I know Florida State's slogan is "Keep climbing," and they have been climbing because you will recall 2-10 a year ago. The season's not even over. They've already doubled their win total So they are literally climbing. And I think Mike Norvell needs 7 or 8 more years to get this thing on the right track. And so I will formally offer my vote of confidence to Mike Norvell. I think he's doing fantastic. He just needs a lot more time.
Yeah, and I too will donate to the Dirty Foot Club's NIL fund if they keep Bill Belichick for another 8 years as well. So, I don't know if he'll even be alive then, but Donno and I are donating to opponents, doing the Lord's work.
We are. Well, we appreciate Brian Smith's time as always. And Brian, you always know, he knows this, the invitation is open. You can join Locked On ACC anytime you want to, my friend. You just let us know. Make sure you follow him at FBScout_Florida. Make sure you follow Kenton on X at TGIF_Kenton and check him out on Locked On Wolfpack. Check me out on Locked On Canes and at Alex Donno. And we are now the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Network, and we are very proud. And we'll talk to everybody again next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.